Hey everyone, Cars here from ADifficultTruth. As you know, there was a historic global climate strike, and in fact, we actually covered it, so I'll leave a link up here somewhere to the video of our coverage. But the right wasted absolutely no time to have the hottest of hottest takes on this, so we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. The first one is this beautiful tweet from this human being, mouth breather, Dinesh D'Souza. Quote, children, notably Nordic white girls with braids and red cheeks, were often used in bad guys from WW2 propaganda. An old Goebbels technique. Looks like today's progressive left is still learning its game from an earlier left in the 1930s. So, a lot to unpack here. Number one, nobody's using her for any kind of propaganda. She actually started this movement all on her own. She started just by herself protesting in the Swedish, in front of the Swedish parliament until it just became this global movement. I mean, if you just look at the Twitter thread, it's just extremely toxic. But anyways, um, second of all, the idea that what picture on the left, the goals and the ideology and the reasoning behind this picture on the left is the same as what she represents. Greta Thunberg is fighting for the planet. So the idea that these two are equal, there's even a connection, is absurd. And come on, dude. The girl's 16. I mean, how low can the right get? I mean, every time I ask that question, one of these idiots raises their hand and says, hold my beer. But let's continue. Breaking this tweet down, looks like today's progressive left is still learning its game from an earlier left in the 1930s. So, of course, the implication is that the bad guys from WW2 were on the far left, which any reputable source refutes that. I mean, this is just fact. The bad guys from WW2 were far right. Period. Full stop. There's nothing else to say. You can't really debate the facts or any reputable source. But I mean, these people still continue push this to push this narrative, which I don't know, to be honest, where it started. I think it started with the IDW. If someone can please correct me, leave a comment in the comment section below. And to tie that up and to tie that to today's progressive left is just ridiculous. I mean, this piece of human garbage wins the dumbest take of the day. But the next one that we're going to address is Tucker Carlson. He actually went on his show and tried to make the case that the global climate strike was just a front for the Democrats to take power. Let's just take a look at the clip.
Congratulations on skipping school. Throughout the day, news anchors assured their viewers that the strike was in fact being led by the kids. They were lying, of course, like all.
As I stated earlier, Greta Thunberg was the inspiration behind this whole thing. She actually started the Fridays for Futures or something like that, where every Friday there was a strike at the schools. This was again a global movement. So all of this was, yes, coordinated by kids. Imagine that, Tucker. These children understand the issue more than you do.
All activist movements, the climate strike was organized by cynical adults.
All activism is organized by cynical adults, huh?
Adults hoping to exploit children for political purposes.
Who's doing that? Show me the receipts.
Obviously. The other lie you heard today is that the strike was about the environment.
Really? So the global climate strike is not about the environment. Wow. I gotta hear this.
It was not about the environment. The main goal of the protesters in this country, for example, was to implement Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's Green New Deal. You'll remember from just a few months ago that the Green New Deal is not about the environment. In fact, Ocasio-Cortez's chief of staff conceded as much. We're quoting now. We really think of it as a how do you change the entire economy thing, end quote.
Right. So, sorry about that. Right. So, the Green New Deal, if Tucker took like 2 seconds to understand it, is first and foremost an economic plan. It's based off FDR's New Deal. It's in the name, Tucker. which was again an economic plan. It's called the Green New Deal because it takes into account the effect of climate change and how that is going to factor into the economy. Jesus.
But that shouldn't surprise you. The environmental movement itself has all but given up on the environment. Don't believe it? Look around. Is our country cleaner than it was? No. It's dirtier and it's more crowded, and it gets more of both of those things every year. The left doesn't care. They're cheering it on. Why? Because they want power.
Wow. I mean, Tucker's right. It is getting dirtier. It is getting worse. But that's because this administration continues to destroy important regulations like the clean air, clean water. So yes, Tucker, it is getting worse because this administration is destroying the regulations that protect the air and water.
And in climate change, they found an emergency big enough to justify grabbing more power. In fact, taking control of everything.
This is absolutely rich. So let me get this straight. Donald Trump declares a fake emergency at the southern border, which we all know that that doesn't exist, to grab power, and somehow that's okay? I mean, the hypocrisy is real.
Don't believe it? Check
No,
out the manifesto of Youth Climate Strike. That's one of the groups leading today's strike. The document calls for, among other things, state-owned banks, single-payer health care, affordable housing, expanded rights for sexual minorities, etc.
Man, that doesn't sound terrible.
Now, you may agree with those political goals or you may disagree. But what do they have to do with the environment? Obviously, nothing. But whatever, full speed ahead. Bernie Sanders, among others, is now demanding that the United States begin admitting what he calls climate refugees.
What he calls climate refugees. Does Tucker know that Bernie Sanders didn't invent this term, and that climate refugees are already happening throughout the world? I mean, is he just unaware of this?
Into our country, maybe in your neighborhood. That would include everyone south of Miami or north of Buenos Aires. All of them now have a right to move here because climate.
So here he's using hyperbolic statements to just fearmonger.
So what are the chances of something like that passing Congress, you ask? Well, right around zero. Congress will never pass a law allowing that. And so that means in order to get what they want, progressives will have to bypass Congress, not to mention voters themselves. And they'd like to do that. Watch as Colorado Senator Michael Bennet explains that the main thing in the way of his climate agenda is, yes, democracy.
Wait a minute. He's using Michael Bennet as his source for the left and progressives? I mean, what? So a completely centrist Democrat is progressive, is the face of progressives and lefts. I mean, this guy, what? How? And who's advocating for going around democracy? I mean, the only person that has done that, to my understanding, is Donald Trump, declaring national emergencies where they don't exist, using like excess of executive power. I mean, why isn't he calling that out?
I think this is a test that's not well understood by some of the candidates in the race and has not been well debated. Is our democracy up to this task?
So he's just posing the question, is our democracy up for the task? Because obviously we elected somebody who's going in the complete opposite direction. Now, can we use the tools? Is our democracy up for the task to overcome this? Is how I interpret this question. But of course, Tucker Carlson is twisting this around.
And that is a really non-trivial question. Because
I mean, it clearly isn't right now.
So far, we have not. We haven't been. And when you lose a national race, as we did in 2016, to a climate denier, that creates a real concern.
Is our democracy up to the task? If you're even asking that question, you're missing the point, because democracy is the point. But damn democracy, says the left, it's standing in the way.
Does the left. I love, again, how is this guy representative of the American left? I mean, what?
Of us getting control of every detail of your life. We'll have to do something about that.
Who is advocating to control everyone, the detail of everyone's life?
That is their position. In the meantime, though, the left has a backup plan. It's the same as it always has been: propaganda.
Right.
Another demand of the youth.
Right, because propaganda is totally what you're not doing, right, Tucker?
Climate strike group is what they're calling, quote, comprehensive climate change education.
Climate change education, imagine that.
They want it for children aged 5 to 14. 5 years old? Why so young?
Yeah, I could say the same thing about religion.
Well, because, and again, we're quoting here, impressionability is high during that developmental stage, end quote. In other words, brainwashing is easier when they're little.
I wonder again if you'll say the same thing about religion.
And there you have the modern left's climate agenda. No drinking straws, no automobiles, no airplanes, no meat, no democracy.
Again, who is proposing any of this? Can you point to a Democratic nominee? Can you point to a Democratic lawmaker? What about a bill being proposed in the House or Senate? No, it doesn't exist. This is classic fear-mongering. It is a gross representation of the Green New Deal, of the global climate strike, and of the severity of climate change. Anyway, guys, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and ring the little bell so that you get notifications when our videos go live for you. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/ADifficultTruth. You can also like us on Facebook at facebook.com/ADifficultTruthOfficial. You can also listen to the podcast at soundcloud.com/ADifficultTruth. And now you can follow us on Twitch at twitch.tv/ADifficultTruth. I'll leave all the links in the description below, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. See ya!